Everyone, we should go Sweden mode. We shouldn't enact shit. We should just let it run its course because it's endemic. It is endemic. It was either
Gotcha.
made
Okay,
with
cool. So your solution is more people die, and then in hopes that some people who don't die build up natural immunity. Do you see why this is all so brain dead?
no, no, no.
Yes,
It's
I'm
not
talking to a
allowing
bot
people
right
to
now.
die.
This is brain dead bullshit. Some Joe Biden drama. It's going down on the timeline, my friends. Joe Biden. All fingers are pointed at him right now because Joe Biden yesterday announced the strictest vaccine mandate probably within his power, and whether or not it's even in his power might be questionable. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's happened. So first and foremost, Biden, initially reluctant to enact mandates, the president is now moving aggressively to require vaccination as the Delta variant races across the country. All right, so Biden on Thursday used the full force of his presidency to push 2/3 of American workers to be vaccinated against the coronavirus, reaching into the private sector to mandate that all companies with more than 100 workers require vaccination or weekly testing. And if you fuck up, if you don't abide by these guidelines, then you will be fined $14,000 per worker that you did not enforce vaccination or testing on. So let's make this clear. I've talked about, does the federal government have the ability to mandate vaccines? And the answer here, this is very much a legal gray area. Biden's already being sued for this. We're going to see this challenged in court. But this is a bit of a gray area because the federal government is stepping in and requiring vaccination more or less, but it's in the private sector. It's not quite the same as the state saying just by existing in the state you must be vaccinated. So it's my understanding that the federal government doesn't have the ability to do a full-on vaccine mandate to the point where they say, if you're an American citizen, you are required to get vaccinated. I don't think they have the ability to do that, but Biden reaching into the private sector here, this is where it gets a little bit murky because there are going to be people that push back against this. Like I said, there already are, but also Biden is trying to use the proper channels in order to do this. He's asked OSHA to order vaccine mandates at large employers. So, let's dig into this just a little bit. The requirements will be imposed by the Department of Labor and its Occupational Safety and Health Administration, which is OSHA, Occupational Safety and Health Administration, which is drafting an emergency temporary standard to carry out the mandate. Some of the biggest companies are already requiring this: United Airlines, Disney, Tyson Foods, and even Fox News, Mr. Biden said. True, which probably means Tucker Carlson is vaccinated. The move, though, is sure to face political pushback and litigation, and it faces considerable challenges like establishing a way to gather and store the vaccination information, as well as a process for exemptions. The president did not specify penalties for flouting the requirements. Wait, what? Maybe the president didn't detail that? I thought there was a, hold on. I thought it was a $14,000 fine. I know I read that somewhere. I might have to go reread that then. The Biden administration also intends to require vaccination for federal workers and contractors, as well as for 17 million healthcare workers in hospitals and other institutions that receive Medicare and Medicaid funding. OSHA oversees workplace safety, which the agency is likely to contend extends to vaccine mandates. The agency has issued other guidelines for pandemic precautions, such as a rule in June requiring healthcare employers to provide protective equipment, provide adequate ventilation, and ensure social distancing, among other measures. So it sounds like they might actually have the ability to do this by using OSHA, by arguing that if you're overseeing workplace safety, vaccinating your employees, making sure that they are not spreading COVID-19, that extends to workplace safety. And it also sounds like they've done things similar to this in the past. And it sounds like they might have the ability to do it because of the ongoing pandemic. They might have a way to insert this temporary guideline because of the ongoing pandemic. I think that the Department of Labor probably is in good stead to be able to justify its mandate for health and safety reasons for the workers, said Steve Bell, a partner at the law firm Dorsey and Whitney, who specializes in labor and employment. They've got a broad, pretty solid basis for saying, we're here to protect the workers, and this is part of our purview, and we think that this is something that will protect employees. OSHA has the authority to quickly issue a rule known as an emergency temporary standard if it can show that workers are exposed to a grave danger and that the rule is necessary to address that danger. The rule must also be feasible for employers to enforce. Such a standard would pre-exempt existing rules by state governments, except in states that have their own OSHA-approved workplace agencies. So this sounds like Biden's going through the proper channels in doing this. It sounds like OSHA has the authority to already do this, and I am likely to, I'm willing to guess that they're going to be able to prove that exposing workers to COVID-19 is a danger, and that making sure people are vaccinated or don't have the virus, because remember, it's either vaccinated or weekly tests, is necessary for keeping the workers safe. That seems to be the ultimate goal here of OSHA, especially in this situation. So, is it a legal gray area? We're going to have to see how it plays out in court. Already, I believe it's the RNC is suing Joe Biden for this, and it's hilarious because they were like, this is going to hurt small businesses. Bruh, did you read it? It's a requirement with more than 100 workers. That ain't a small business, pal. If you have over 100 workers, I think you're probably up there pretty well, pretty solid. It's even said, the headline even describes it as large employers. It's just funny. I think that this is going to be challenged in court. We'll have to see how it plays out. I am in favor of this at the end of the day. I think that based on what I'm reading here, it sounds like Joe Biden is going through the existing channels. He's not mandating it on the basis of just being an American citizen. This is based on still workers in employment. And it sounds like he's going through the proper channels to do all this. It's really quite strange, though, and hilarious at the same time, because conservatives are fucking melting down over this. For the last, couple, I guess maybe 24 hours or so, hashtag Dictator Biden has been trending on Twitter. First of all, if I'm not mistaken, Donald Trump enacted the, executive orders, not more than Biden. Biden's had to use executive orders to undo shit that Trump did with executive orders. But President Trump used executive orders to get shit banned, get shit enforced. Remember the critical race thing? He did that all the time. Joe Biden, however, is actually going through the proper legal channels to try and get this done. This is not dictatorial by any means. It's just hilarious, too, because conservatives will... You've become a real bored dude. Hey, why don't you get in my Discord and we'll talk about it? Am I boring you, or is it just that I'm no longer affirming what you'd like to hear all day, every day? I'd be curious to know. Well, now I'm boring because I lost my train of thought because of chat. But remember when Trump made the references to revoking your citizenship if you burned the American flag? You see, that wasn't dictatorial, according to conservatives, because that didn't really affect conservatives. Conservatives don't burn the American flag. They don't give a fuck. That's not going to restrict their own freedoms. Yeah, so who fucking cares? Plus, you shouldn't. If they agree with it, it's fine and dandy, too. But then with something like this, since a lot of conservatives, unfortunately, no offense, happen to be fucking stupid and happen to be anti-vax, vaccine hesitant types, unfortunately, this affects them much more than something like burning the American flag restrictions ever would. So it's just really funny to see where they're like, this is dictatorial, and where they're like, it's not dictatorial. And even if it was, I kind of agree with it. So yeah, is this dictatorial? No, it's not. If you're going through the proper legal channels, and it sounds like there's precedent and authority for this government agency to enact these types of things, it's not acting like a dictator, Biden. That's not what this is. Guys, conservatives, chill out, please. Don't get your panties in a wad, okay? It's going to be okay. I promise you. Ask your mommy. Take you in the minivan to go get your shots. I know it's scary. And it does hurt. It feels like a little pinch. You know, so sometimes you get like a little bee sting and it's like, ow! It might be like that, okay? But if you're good, if you just sit calmly, don't throw a tantrum, don't say anything about how Fauci and the elites are trying to wipe out the population with the DNA-altering mark of the beast, all right? Shh, 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 hush. Don't fuss, okay? After you get the little pinch, you can get a cute Band-Aid and a lollipop, and we'll get milkshakes afterwards. Okay? Please? Okay. Literally trying to convince conservatives at this point is like talking to children, unironically. Because it's just the dumbest excuses imaginable. The thing is, I'm in such a weird spot here because, like, publicly, when I'm talking broadly about, like, the anti-vax conspiracy types and the demagogues who peddle anti-vax nonsense within the kind of conservative echo chamber, the conservative circle jerk, I have no sympathy for those people. And I recognize the, like, optical appeal, I guess, to, like, the, well, I just want to understand the other side. I just want to know what they're all about. You know, what are they feeling? And to be truthful, I do go by that if I was talking one-to-one to a family member who may have been more or less deceived and taken advantage of and told lies about something. Obviously, I'm not going to approach a interpersonal conversation the same way I approach this broadly, okay? Just for clarity there. But when I'm talking about this here on my stream, I understand the optical appeal of being like, some of these people just need us to understand where they're coming from, and but also someone needs to have the balls to just be mean to these fucking dipshits. And I'm okay being that person. I will be mean. These people are fucking stupid. They're degenerate. And you know what's funny? Part of my my hyper rage here comes not only because, yes, I do have some resentment because there are family members who are anti-vax in my family. Obviously, I guess that goes without saying with family members. And it really fucking annoys me. And I have my own qualms there. But also because a little while, well, this only just came out. Wait, did this just come out today? Holy shit. I don't know what time it came out today. This was here when I get up with the kids in the morning. Sometimes I'll put in my headphones and feed them breakfast and listen to some debate. And I was listening here to Destiny's debate. More like a conversation with this girl. What's her name? BX Bullet? Yeah. And to be fair, she's much more reasonable than some. Okay? I'm going to say that right off the bat. I'm not trying to just shit all over her or something. But in this particular discussion, everything she was sort of doing, it felt very much like she was trying to sort of hide behind the, well, we don't want to be so divisive. Someone needs to just be kind of understanding, you know? But in doing that, she was also literally playing defense for virtually every dumb fuck conservative conspiracy theory out there. The inflating COVID numbers thing. She kept saying people might not want to get it because it's an 80% chance of making you have fatigue. I'm sorry. I understand, like, I appreciate a lot Destiny's approach, like, the more conversational aspect, and I do think that's important. I think that there is a place for that. But there also is a place for someone to just be mean to these fucking idiots. If you're saying that I'm going to risk my neighbors, I'm going to risk the continuing of this pandemic, because 80% of people that get it will feel tired. Fuck you. Get the vaccine on a fucking Friday so the next day you don't have to go into work. Drink a goddamn Red Bull and get over it. How tired do you think you're going to be if you have COVID? It's just, every excuse made. And I've argued with this person too. She was on one of the hippy dippy panels, and it was so, she was the one that said being, like, single motherhood was, or no, what did she say? Fuck, it was the nuclear family. The benefits of the nuclear family is, like, mainly a myth or whatever. Hunter, sorry, babes, you couldn't be mean if you tried. Destiny, I know in his older content, he would get mad at these people, and that was kind of his thing, and I know that he's kind of moved past that, I guess, now, but I don't know. Just, some of the excuses made are just fucking dumb. Even, I hate the argument, too, the effectiveness goes down. You became your opposition over the course of the last year, and it's fucking pathetic to see. Hey, Eddie Vin Graham, could you please get in my Discord? You have 5 minutes to get in my Discord and we can talk, or else you're going to get banned from the chat permanently. Okay? But I hate the excuse of, like, the effectiveness is going down. The effectiveness, that's why do people act like this matters? Why do people... Now, Destiny did say it well, at, like, 50% protection, 60% protection. That's still fucking good, and you should still take the vaccine. I don't know. It's just hard to have sympathy for these people. Some of them, like I said, on an interpersonal level, I can totally understand if it's like, hey, you've been led astray, and you've been deceived, and arguably brainwashed by, like, Fox News and shit. We can talk about that if you want. I understand that on an interpersonal level, but in a more public setting, no. If you're playing defense for the vaccine hesitant who just simply have questions, fuck you. In my book, you're anti-vax, fuck you. Because you're effectively anti-vax if you think about it. You are playing defense and validating those delusional, schizophrenic-like, brain-dead thoughts. You are defending it and adding validation to that. So in my book, you are effectively anti-vax, even if you claim not to be. And honestly, even if you are hesitant of the vaccine because I saw a scary story, fuck you. Stop being so dumb. Stop being like a sheep that just reads the headline and then gets scared. Look at it from a statistical level and realize that the likelihood of you dying or having any adverse side effects that last longer than 24 hours is nothing more than a fairy tale. So what did you say in my chat? I don't remember what your comment was.
I said that it was sad to see that you've become essentially, I say the opposition kind of callously, but at the same time, this is a lot bigger than vaccinated versus unvaccinated.
Okay,
we've heard.
So how have I become everything I have opposed?
Well, right now you're essentially acting as a almost, well, you know how they're paying influencers and everything, right? I'm not accusing you of being paid. I wouldn't accuse you of doing so. But this administration has been paying influencers on social media to propagate their message. It's essentially what they've been doing for the last ever since he basically got in. That's that video that we've seen of that gay intern at the White House.
I
It's that
don't care at
video.
all. Who cares?
No. I'm not saying you should care. I'm saying that there have been people who have been joining the side of the propaganda arm of this regime that we are currently under.
Propaganda arm of this regime. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
So
Okay,
when have
a
I
quick
ever
question.
opposed vaccines or anything? How is this me becoming my opposition?
I'm not saying that you're opposing them. You're pushing them. It sounds like you're pretty pro-vax right now. I tuned in.
Are you able to
It's been
turn it off speakerphone and put it up to your ear like a regular phone if you're using a phone?
I'm using my laptop right now. So is this how
Okay.
do I
Do you have headphones or anything? It's just I'm getting a bit of an echo.
um I don't have headphones around me.
All right,
No.
it's okay. Well, I'll just deal with it. It's very
Okay.
minimal. Maybe you can just turn me down a little bit on your laptop.
Sure. Let's see here.
Just your laptop
Okay, is that
volume
better?
generally. Yeah. That's a lot better. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I never opposed vaccines. How is this me becoming my opposition?
You never oppose. Okay. Well, first of all, let's define who is the opposition in this case. Who was Biden talking to yesterday in the evening?
Probably more of the conservatives, the anti-vax types.
And so are they your opposition, or are they, how do you view them?
I mean, yeah, I would consider them my opposition if they're like brain dead anti-vaxxers. Yeah.
What makes them brain dead? Have you listened to the arguments that
What's
they've
their
had?
reason for not getting vaccinated? That would be this first question.
Have you been paying attention to what's going on in Israel, Australia?
Um, with Australia, the like tracking app, I'm not too fond of that, but I don't know. I'm not very familiar. I don't know what that has to do with the vaccine. Let's stick with what we're talking about here in America, and who cares with what's happening in Israel? If you look at it, people are still
No, we should care. We should be
because
paying
people are
attention.
getting it, but they're not actually dying at nearly this as significant rates. It's also because they took the vaccine at an earlier time when it first came out, and it does start to lose its effectiveness. So they might need a booster shot. That's how a developing virus works. So
But
yeah,
we've
it would be
never
a brain. So hold on. So right there, that's a brain dead reason to not get the vaccine. Look at Israel herder. So let's go to the next one, please.
no. Well, okay, it's all right. We can go on to the next one. So an mRNA vaccine. This is the first mRNA vaccine that we have ever seen developed.
Who cares?
There's a lot of things that come with that, my friend. There's a lot of things that come with that.
mRNA vaccines have been being experimented and testing. I mean, human trials began with mRNA vaccines back in 2013. This has been going on now for nearly a decade. mRNA vaccines have been being studied for quite a long time.
This is the first one that's being put forward that actually utilizes spike proteins. I'm sure you've heard
Cool.
about
Yeah,
those.
it's actually a lot more effective.
I've not been hearing that it's effective.
You don't see the efficacy rates of the vaccines?
I see the efficacy rates of how well I see the efficacy rates of let's say some of them. Okay, so we have Moderna, Pfizer, Johnson
Uh-huh.
Johnson, right?
Yes.
Right now, there's a lot of problems with Pfizer from what I've been seeing.
Like,
Japan recalled a large amount of them recently.
I thought that was because of a contamination issue and had nothing to do with the actual development of the vaccine.
It was part of the development. I don't know if it was an actual
So the
contamination. They
Pfizer
didn't.
vaccine has been FDA approved, right? And we can look at some stats here. If you want, I can pull some up on my computer or send them over to you. We can look at the general. Hold on, let me see if I can find this here. I don't have my anti-vax notes up yet. Hold on one second. We can look at the general efficacy rates of the vaccine. It decreases your likelihood of getting COVID, and in doing that, it decreases your likelihood of spreading COVID. Also, if there is the rare case of a breakthrough case, it greatly, at like a 90% efficacy rate, keeps you from being hospitalized and dying from COVID. So that both the mRNA vaccine has been being studied now for a pretty long time. Like I said, first human trials began in 2013. And, hold on. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get this at the same time, so I'm a little distracted here.
Go ahead.
But yeah, the mRNA vaccines have been being studied for a long time. And thus far, the available data we have shows an extremely high efficacy rate. So yeah, both of those are brain dead reasons not to get the vaccine. Easily.
But do you see the difference between the J&J, Moderna, Pfizer?
They have what? They have varying efficacy rates?
I mean, they do, for one.
Okay, here we
There's been various different issues with. I can't speak on Moderna, but I've seen a lot regarding Pfizer, Johnson and Johnson.
I can send you this. This is an independent
Okay.
journalism, sciencenews.org. These charts
Okay.
show that COVID-19 vaccines are doing their job.
How do I go to the chat on this fucking thing?
Here, I sent it to you right in your little message thing. If you're on the call, you should see it just pop up. So the first chart, you can see the growing divide. You can see how the unvaccinated are spiking on hospitalization rates, but the people who are vaccinated are staying relatively steady. We can look on a weekly trend and see how the vaccinated are staying relatively steady with hospitalizations. But then when we have unvaccinated people, they're spiking. They're all over the fucking place. So it's like, it's funny because people will say, like anti-vaxxers will say, like, I'm not going to get the vaccine. I don't want to be part of the experiment. It's like, you are, bitch. You're just part of the control group. And look what we're seeing. You're up and down. You're all over the place. You're in the hospital, man. And the vaccinated are going steady. They're fine. This comes again from sciencenews.org. So, yes, it's a brain dead reason to not get the vaccine, to make that claim that it's not effective, or that the mRNA, it's because it's the first mRNA vaccine. Doesn't matter. It's effective. Doesn't seem to be having negative effects long term. And it seems to be doing its job. Therefore, it's a brain dead reason to use that as an excuse not to. So do you have another excuse?
There's been tons of causes of myocarditis within young people.
Do you know when that cleared up? How long did it take till that went away on its own? Could you tell me, please?
I'm not familiar with it. You tell me.
It got 24 hours, okay? Usually, most people, the majority of people that had symptoms, it went away in, I think it was 24 to 48 hours, and they didn't even have to go to the hospital. It went away on its own. This is a brain dead reason not to get the vaccine, when in turn we know that the long-term effects of COVID could actually negatively impact your heart and do negatively impact your lungs.
Have you
so
had
that's
COVID?
A brain dead reason not to get the vaccine. Another one.
Have you had COVID?
No, but I'm fully vaccinated.
All right.
So have I become my opposition, or have you become my opposition?
Let's go with the control group thing. So, and that was clever, but at the same time, if we're looking at an actual total control group scenario, we can look at Sweden, for example, who they have not done any lockdowns. We know that they have been pretty chill, like really relaxed when it comes to enforcing all this stuff. And their case rates have been pretty much the same as any other place, any other country that's required mass vaccinations, mass lockdowns.
So let's see. Sweden saw lower 2020 death spike than much of Europe. Sweden, which has shunned the strict lockdowns that have choked much of the global economy, emerged from the 2020 with a smaller increase. Let's see. Sweden had 7.7% more deaths in 2020 than its average for the preceding 4 years. Okay, so that's like significantly lower than a lot of other countries. Hold on, I'm kind of skimming this article quickly. Let's see. Okay. So it sounds like there may have been an issue with some of their reporting, that they weren't actually reporting things quite as accurately as other places. Let's see. Okay, so there's all sorts of factors that played a role here that could, like, hold on. So even all right, you know what? We can go through this if we want to, but I can send you this. I would look at I would if I were you, I would look this over. So what it sounds like to me is that there are some concerns about how that data is calculated. First of all, how they're actually counting. Sorry, I'm getting a really loud echo there. How they're actually counting the deaths. And then there's also the fact that Sweden has a little bit of a lower proportion of older people, which are like significantly more at risk, right? So they also are a generally healthier like area to live also. So there are all sorts of different reasons for why this may have happened. And even if I were to concede all of this and just say, yeah, they didn't do lockdowns fine, then that would just be disagreeing with lockdowns, which you can have your qualms with that all you want. Again, that has really nothing to do with the vaccine, and it doesn't change the effectiveness of the vaccine. So that would still be a brain dead reason not to get the vaccine.
Quick question. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm with you.
So with Discord and with chat, the stuff that you send me, am I able to come back to this anytime, even after we end this call?
Yeah,
So I
if you
can
look on the
look
side where it says
at these?
direct messages,
Sure.
you'll be able to just
Okay.
click on me and see all of our messages that we've sent.
Okay, so I don't have to click save or anything.
No.
Okay, all right. And I have to meet with a client at 11:45. I'm on Eastern Daylight Time. But
I got you.
have you heard about the two head scientists, I believe, from the FDA who resigned? I think this was about a week ago. I'd heard about it. I didn't look into it too much, but I have been hearing from a lot of my friends who are more on the they're more cautious about the vax. They were citing that as a reason to not go ahead and take it, because they said that the two scientists who resigned, I'm forgetting their names at the moment,
Why did they
but
resign?
yeah, they quit.
But why?
Well, that's the thing. I haven't really looked into it. I've just heard that they
Right,
left. It was like
again, this is why I say it's kind of, and I'm not saying you're brain dead here. It sounds like maybe your friends were just a little brain dead. 2 members of the U.S. FDA advisory panel resign over Alzheimer's drug approval. This has nothing to do with COVID or the vaccine. So, brain dead reason not to get the vaccine. This is
that
one
was over
Google search.
on this drug.
Yes. This is one Google search, dude. Like, this is what I mean. This is why it actually is brain dead not to get the vaccine.
Oh wait, that said that's from June 9th, from what I'm seeing. That
Oh, you know
article that
what?
you're
Hold on.
reading.
You know what? I might be wrong. Oh, okay. Fair. Thank you for pointing that out. So 2 top
Sure.
FDA officials resigned over Biden administration's booster shot plan, saying it insisted on the policy before the agency approved it. Okay. So what does this mean?
Okay, Marion Gruber. That one? Is that the one you're looking at?
Yeah, the director of the FDA's Office of Vaccines. Her plan to leave the FDA in October and November. So, praised the pair for their work for the COVID-19 pandemic. He didn't give a reason for the departure. But sources told Endpoints and Politico... Hold on, I have to mute you just because of the echo. 1 minute. Politico that Gruber... I almost read Grubhub. Gruber and Krause were upset with Biden administration's booster shot plan. The administration announced last month that most people would be offered a COVID-19 booster shot about 8 months after the vaccination. One former senior FDA leader told Endpoints that Gruber and Krause were leaving because they felt that the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention was making vaccine decisions that should have been left to the FDA, and were upset with Marks, the leader of their division, not insisting on the agency's oversight. Okay, so couple things. This sounds like perhaps Biden was a little quick to announce this and they didn't like that. But if that's a reason not to get vaccinated, then that would still be a very brain dead reason, because Donald Trump couldn't even get along with Fauci and had all kinds of issues with that because he wouldn't follow their guidance and was announcing things and saying shit without their advice. Second of all, based on what I'm reading here, it sounds like this is just like some inner bureaucracy drama. Like it just sounds like they feel like the FDA should be maybe more involved in the booster shot plan. This would justify skepticism for the booster shot, maybe. Sure, I'll give you that one. But not for the current vaccine that is FDA approved. So, no, this might be something to be skeptical of the upcoming plan for booster shots, maybe. But the current vaccine, no. It would be a brain dead reason not to get the vaccine. I can comfortably say that.
Okay, so did you happen to know about how they changed the definition of the vaccine in Merriam-Webster?
Okay, let's look it up.
Yeah, I'm being super serious. Merriam-Webster gives vaccine a new definition. This is April 30th of this year. They basically change it to basically like include the definition of a treatment, which is really what this is. This isn't an inoculation. This is they call it a vaccine, implying that it is an inoculation.
Did Merriam-Webster change definition of anti-vaxxer amid COVID-19?
Not anti-vaxxer.
All right, let's see.
Vaccine.
Expanded sentence. Okay. Yeah, then this must be, so they're probably with that story came along like a slew of just like blatant misinformation. Okay. I'm looking into this. I haven't heard this one. And just let me put it out there just for the audience. Even if this were true, 100% true, doesn't change the fact that we have studies available showing the efficacy of this vaccine, and this would be a fucking brain dead reason not to get the vaccine. Because is the Merriam-Webster a private institution? I assume it is. Do I sound stupid asking that? The Merriam-Webster changing their definition does not mean that the vaccine is like something to be feared or some big grand conspiracy. So
Can you repeat that? Sorry.
I was saying it more for the chat. Don't worry about it. I'm just saying that this, even if they changed the definition, it would still be a completely brain dead reason not to get the vaccine. All right, so let's see. It says the claim, Merriam-Webster changed the definition of vaccine to include the messenger RNA vaccines produced by Moderna and Pfizer. It's true that the dictionary's publisher's definition of a vaccine today is not the same as it was a year ago. The current definition includes a preparation of genetic material, such as a strand of synthesized messenger RNA that is used by the cells of the body to produce an antigenic substance, such as a fragment of a virus spike protein. The previous definition referred to organisms administered to produce or artificially increase immunity to a particular disease. Okay, this is like this would be the, honestly, congratulations, because you just presented me with probably the most brain dead reason of them all not to get the vaccine. Because you're telling me that, okay, let me try to break this down very quickly and very, very fast. Language, we determine what words mean. Okay, this is a newer vaccine, true. You referenced that at the beginning. You told me that this was the first mRNA vaccine. This is a new type of vaccine. So now that we understand that, hey, vaccines can exist outside of just this artificially, inserting the strand of a virus to artificially increase immunity, vaccines mean more than that. So the definition changes along with that. This is not conspiracy. This is actually completely coherent, logical thinking that, again, would be a brain-dead reason not to get the vaccine.
So the definition goes from complete inoculation to treatment that may or may not cause a breakthrough case. And that definition...
What are you talking about? I thought the current, based on what I'm reading, is the current definition is, quote, a preparation of genetic material such as a strand of synthesized messenger RNA. So the definition was expanded to include mRNA vaccines also. A vaccine it prevents you, right, from contracting the virus. That's the main goal, and that's what this mRNA thing works to do. It is a vaccine by our definitional standards, so the dictionary would work to change that. Anyone who thinks that this is like conspiratorial, I don't need to say brain dead again. I think I said that a lot. But
yeah, it's brain dead is a good word to use, but
it's true. I mean, it's true.
But
these are dumb reasons not to get vaccinated.
Do you not have like a little like an inkling of like how that can come across as like Orwellian to some people? And I know that it's trite. I know it's really fucking trite to have people say, "Oh, this is 1984. This is 1984 or Brave New World," all that yada yada yada. But I can sympathize with those who have seen the changing definitions, the modifying of language,
Hmm.
which is a tool. It definitely is a tool. If
So
you can change
what I
language,
would
you
say to
change
the
definition. Look at how the definition of like something like racism, for example,
Okay, hold
is
on,
basically
wait. Yeah, before we get off on that, look, we don't need to go any further. Definitions change all the time because definitions are socially constructed. We could literally look throughout history and see where definitions of words that we commonly use today have greatly changed. So, for example, the word awful used to mean something positive. But if I told you that these anti-vaxxers are awful, I'm pretty sure that you wouldn't take it that way. Definitions of words change all the time. It is not Orwellian to have definitions like adapt with the times. That's not Orwellian at all. It's the opposite of Orwellian, if anything.
but if they go behind our back and change the definition of a vaccine, which is very, very important for the times that we're in, without telling us about it, we're just left to find it out on our own. Like, oh, one day just
Merriam-Webster
definition.
isn't the only dictionary. You can look at other definitions too.
But that is the most widely consulted one, and the resources that the most people go to, those are the ones that have like a
So what
definitely
I
an
would tell
appearance.
that person is they're being conspiratorial minded by thinking this was some behind the scenes anything, and rather the Merriam-Webster dictionary has been the most recognized and most used because it's usually the most accurate, and it seems it's also the quickest to update its shit. The mRNA vaccines have been being studied for a long time, and like I already pointed out, you mentioned that this was the first mRNA vaccine. It only makes sense that with the times the definition would change.
The definition was vaccinated. If you were vaccinated, it means that you were inoculated. You couldn't get the disease. You couldn't contract it. Now it basically means you can get vaccinated. Some people who have gotten triple shot have gotten breakthroughs.
Okay.
Have you ever questioned why do they care about the unvaccinated at this point? Why do they want why do they want to get this vaccine so bad when they won't even
Because part
vaccinate those who are coming across our border?
Okay, this is a huge, massive pivot. We don't need to talk about people crossing the border right now. It
It matters.
it
It's all a move of globalization. This
well,
is what this is
as
all
you know,
about. It's
usually
not about
actually, if from a
vaccine.
capitalist more like perspective, globalization is actually kind of good. But we don't need to get into that conversation right now.
I
If
mean,
I'm not
it's a
mistaken,
snowball.
I'm pretty sure that Joe Biden's actually gotten heat because he's including Donald Trump's thing, that Donald Trump's law that he put in place to send immigrants away at the border because of COVID. So I don't know what the reason for bringing up the immigrants for the first place was. Do you see how like all the anti-vax stuff seems very like scattered and sort of just what it really comes down to is sounds like is people are just like they're putting feelings over facts. They're like, I'm scared. It makes me uncomfortable. I have this icky gut feeling that it's going to be spooky, and I don't really want to take the vaccine. You would laugh at my face if I said, well, an airplane is defined as something that takes us from point A to point B in the sky. And sometimes airplanes crash. So therefore, airplanes should not be trusted. And the definition is wrong. Like, do you see how delusional that would sound?
We're talking, so we're. I don't want to be one of these people's like of the variety of, oh, you're comparing apples to oranges, but I mean, let's see. So have you looked at the odds of a plane crashing in general versus the odds of dying from this illness?
What are the odds of dying in a car crash?
We're talking about planes.
We are talking about planes, but I actually think a car would even be a better comparison because it hones in on something that all of us almost every day use or ride in one or drive. You have like a
Okay.
1 in
Well,
5,000. I don't know the plane stats off the top of my head, but you
the
have a
plane
1.
stats,
Go
from
ahead.
what I'm seeing right now in front of me from PBS, it's about 1 in 11 million. And okay, so I got a message from my client saying he's okay if we go at noon, so I have 9 more minutes.
Dope.
But
But there's also a lot less people that are flying in airplanes, right? So there might be more vaccine related deaths at the end of the day, but we don't compare it just on that. It's also that more people have gotten the vaccine than ride on airplanes, for example. That's why I think cars are probably a better thing to hone in on, which would be, I'm not trying to compare death rates here of these things, but rather your chance of dying in a car accident is like 1 in 5,000. It's not that unlikely for you to die in a car accident. It's really not. However, we drive in cars almost every day. The likelihood of you actually dying from like some vaccine related bullshit is like 0.0001%. It's a joke. It's a brain dead excuse to justify putting feelings over facts.
So, okay, so the car thing is a little bit off if we're comparing death rates of a viral infection versus human error with regards to operating a motor vehicle.
I'm not trying to compare death rates. I'm trying to show how you trust something where you have a higher likelihood of dying from it.
I'm not saying you are. So the odds of dying in a motor vehicle crash, from what I'm seeing, is 1 in 107. That's from the National Safety Council. That's just what I saw right now. But so the odds of dying from COVID itself, if you're healthy and if you're part of there's various rates, of course, depending on each group. We all know that, but it usually hovers around the high, like super high, 90, 98, roughly percentage speaking. We didn't shut the country down when it came to swine flu. We didn't shut the country down
because it wasn't a pandemic. It wasn't at the same level. It didn't have the same level of spreadability. This was an entirely different situation. If you have to pivot to make a what about this thing claim, then you've lost the argument, because we're not here trying to say, has every government and every president been consistent in the ways that they handle diseases? Rather, we're talking about if getting the COVID vaccine at the end of the day is the logical decision to make. And it is. Again, your likelihood of dying from the COVID vaccine is like 0.0001%. What did you just read me? The likelihood of dying in a car accident? Like 1 in 100?
1 in 107.
Yeah. So
my point is that we take risks every day. This is really no different.
The risk of dying from a COVID vaccine is lower than 1 in 31,000. So there you go. If we're going to drive in a car every single fucking day, and you read me that 1 in 157 people are going to die in a car accident, and yet then we have the same anti-vaxxers that are probably driving around doing their makeup, talking on their cell phone, and eating donuts all at the same time while driving, complaining about a vaccine that is, the likelihood of them dying from that is lower than 1 in 31,000. It's brain dead.
We're talking about a foreign entity that we're putting in our bodies that has not been out for even...
We're not talking... There's no foreign entity anything. This has gone through all the proper channels. It's gone through extensive studying, and now Pfizer is fully FDA approved. What more do you want?
The FDA approval is very shaky at best.
Why?
It's not. What?
Why? Why is it shaky?
Have you looked more into the officials leaving, people leaving in general from the FDA?
We just read about the one person leaving, and it had nothing to do with the vaccine.
It was for reasons undisclosed. What do you think that would be?
No, it was for the booster shots, and then the other one we read was for the Alzheimer's drug.
The Alzheimer's drug was from 2019, I think. I thought
that was back in June. We looked at both of them, though, I just Googled when the FDA people left and clicked the first one. But either way, yeah, we literally on this call looked up people that walked away from the FDA. That doesn't prove anything. What's shaky about the FDA approval of the Pfizer vaccine? Please, can you please tell me?
Yes. Let's see.
Are you there? Wait,
Yeah.
Are you Googling right? Oh, don't
No,
don't be Googling now.
You've been Googling too, my friend, so let's not...
I know, I'm fucking with you. Even if you were Googling, it's fine. It's this... Go ahead. I'm not going to say anything. I'll wait for you.
Here's okay. The FDA, from what I've heard, I'm trying to remember based on what I heard, but I've I can't exactly find it at the moment. But if I do, I will. Can I message you on here? Are we friends on
You can
Discord
send
now?
me
How does it
you
work?
can send me something right here, yeah.
Can I
So,
send it to you later?
yeah, you can send it to me later, but you made the claim already that it was shaky at best. So I'd like to know if
Yes,
even if it's
that
something
was
at the
that
top
was
of your head, what makes you think that it's shaky?
that was the general conclusion of what I had heard yesterday.
Who are
And
you
it
listening to?
what was I listening to?
Yeah, where did you hear this?
This was on, I believe it was either Reuters or Insider News. What was it? Shit. I will
Reuters
find
said that the FDA approval was shaky at best.
not shaky at best. That's my rewording of it, but it's not. It's basically saying that it was still kind of rushed, like it wasn't a
This is
clean
so
cut.
wrong. I don't know what I okay. If you have an article from Reuters, sure, go ahead and send it over. But I'm looking right here, and also I've already read this stuff because I have to be prepared to talk to people that think this way. But the COVID vaccine was approved quickly for various different reasons. First of all, historically, the reason that sometimes vaccines take a really long time to be fully developed and then approved is because it actually takes a long time to figure out how to make a vaccine against that thing. Thankfully for us, we've already had COVID-19 or coronavirus, generally speaking. It was being studied for quite some time, and trying to build a vaccine against it has already partially been made since we have vaccines against other types. Oh, wait, no, we don't have vaccines against that. That was my mistake. But it's been studied and being developed for quite some time. And researched sorry, I lost my train of thought here for you. Let me try to go ahead
You're
and
good.
send this to you also. Another reason that it went quicker was not because the FDA cut corners, but rather the FDA put more people to do the job. The approval process means slowly wading through piles of paperwork, something you don't have a lot of time for during a global pandemic. Instead of skipping steps, the FDA essentially put a lot more people and resources into the process right away. It's shockingly safe and it's amazingly efficacious, said Dr. Kinch of their findings. They had a lot to review, but they took the job very, very seriously, and I have no concerns that any corners were cut. So, yes, brain dead reason
Who?
not to get the vaccine.
Dr. Kinch.
Well, I can send you the whole article if you want. That was just one of the
Okay,
quotes I
yeah,
was reading.
please do.
But when I lost my train of thought there a second ago, I was just mentioning also that coronavirus, researching like vaccines against that have been researched now for quite some time. We've been aware of an existing coronavirus, but
Right.
COVID-19 is new.
Yep.
I'm sure
Yeah.
you know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do
We
you see why I think that it's pretty brain dead to not get the vaccine? Because like every avenue we take, we've been talking for 30 minutes, every single thing that was said is either wrong, out of context, or just a blatant lie and does not disprove the overall point that the vaccine is efficacious.
I would have no problem with taking the vaccine if I'm going back to this again, but if what we're seeing in how they're rolling it out with Australia, with Israel, all these places,
This
all
would be something with quarantine. You realize if you don't want there to be any more quarantines or lockdowns, getting vaccinated is probably your best bet.
but who's pushing the vaccine?
What do you mean?
Who made them? The
Well,
CDC. So we have basically the CDC acting as an additional arm of the government right now, the WHO,
mm-hmm.
who is in bed with China, who essentially okay, the origins of the virus. Let's talk about
No, no,
that
no,
too,
no,
because
no,
that
no, 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 no.
it does play a role. It does play a
We're
role.
not going up. No, we're not going off into the tangent about the origins of the virus. We can talk about that another time, okay? But what you're saying right now is just a bunch of brain dead stuff. If you're against getting tracked or whatever, I don't like how Australia's doing that, okay? But if you're against that shit, get vaccinated. Honestly, the fact that we have a private company that is developing this vaccine and then has to go through a government body in order to have that approved all the incentives are there to make the most effective vaccine.
I get you. So
It's brain dead to not get the vaccine. That is my thesis, and thus far it has been solidly proven.
You know about Dr. Malone, right? The creator of the mRNA vaccine?
Not really. Don't really care about that person, but sure.
No. Robert Malone, the creator of the mRNA vaccine, has said that natural immunity is better.
So what should be... Okay, cool. So let's assume that he actually said that 100%. I don't know if that's true, but I'll go ahead and just give that to you and assume you're right. If he said that natural immunity is better, then what's the solution there? Everyone should just get COVID?
We should go Sweden mode. We shouldn't enact shit. We should just let it run its course because it's endemic. It is endemic. It was either made.
Okay, cool. So your solution is more people die, and then in hopes that some people who don't die build up natural immunity. Do you see why this is all so fucking brain dead? Yes, I'm talking to a bot right now. This is brain dead bullshit. You're telling me right now that the better route would be to have more people get the virus, potentially die, risk long-term effects, because building up natural immunity is actually better, said one guy. Do you see why I call you brain dead? Why?
The creator
this is also
of the mRNA vaccine. The creator of the vaccine. The technology that they're using, the mRNA vaccine. The creator.
I don't care. Just if someone creates something,
why do you not care about that?
Because
that's really significant.
Because it doesn't mean anything. Your solution is to let people get COVID.
But look at how it's going in other countries where they haven't implemented lockdown, like Sweden. It's very.
We don't know Sweden's full rates. We don't know if they even counted those numbers correctly. And also, there are less older people in Sweden. There's also a significantly lower population in Sweden. You have a much larger risk here in the States.
So let's look at what's going on in the States.
No, don't you have your... I don't want you to be late for your client meeting, honestly, and I've already lost enough brain cells here. This is why I call you people, you anti-vax people, fucking brain dead, is because you kind of come on first with this, well, I'm skeptical, I just have questions. No, fuck you. Every question you have is a conspiracy, playing into misinformation, or just blatant fucking falsehoods. It is, at the end of the day, brain dead nonsense not to get the vaccine. I appreciate you playing defense for the brain dead. I'm starting to think you might be brain dead yourself. Either way, thank you very much for coming on. Okay, buddy?
At the end of this life, just remember, you could have taken a stand against this.
Okay, sure. I'll remember that when I'm standing before God Almighty or whatever. I don't know. What other fairy tales do you believe in? Do you want to talk about it? Is the Tooth Fairy coming tonight? Maybe Santa Claus is coming down. I think so. Hold on.
Fuck you, dude. Fuck
I just heard Rudolph. There's another fairy tale for you to believe in.
No.
Yeah, go fuck yourself, dude. And stop playing defense for a bunch of anti-vax bullshit, all right? You're brain dead. Fuck that guy. I do not care. Like I said, I'll be mean to these people. These people are fucking stupid. And they do a net harm to society and the world. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click the bell so you get notified when I drop a new video.